On Accused Season 1 Episode 15, Billy had to balance his desire to leave a wonderful musical legacy with his concern that his son wouldn't undo all of the hard work he had put into his career. The involvement of addiction, which I see as a sickness over which many people have little control, makes this one difficult to take a position on. However, regardless of how much one may understand their predicament, there are some behaviors that addicts engage in that have genuine repercussions for those around them, making it difficult to have sympathy for them. The fact that we began this story too late in Billy, Leo, and the family's lives was what caught our attention. There wasn't much that could be done about this given the anthological nature of the episodes in the series, but it did a huge amount of damage to the plot. This seemed like it would have worked better if it had been split into two halves where we could have seen Billy's ascent to stardom and the impact it had on his family. The following section would have discussed the goings-on while he struggled with his approaching death and the reasons behind his insistence on adhering to a specific vision for his greatest hit CD. In order to piece together possible occurrences, we had to rely solely on the characters' statements, which worked to some extent but wasn't quite as well. The only thing that united Billy and Leo was their shared passion for music. And it was obvious to Leo that this was the only way he could stay in touch with his father, who had spent the majority of his early years away pursuing a dream. He did succeed in realizing his ideal, but at a high price. He had a fantastic career behind him, but there comes a time in life when you have to accept that the things you have accomplished in the past are just that, past. He desired to create something unique that would live on in the memories of his followers. However, he was blind to the fact that his son was in need of his attention and would resort to harsh measures if he felt ignored. When Leo was a teenager, taking action might have been simple, but with JoJo involved, things got a little more difficult. He had natural rights as her parent, but he couldn't be trusted to put his own interests, let alone those of another human being, above those of another. Billy had obviously grown accustomed to clearing up Leo's spills. The more times he did so, the greater the mess Leo made. Every time he used and was on the verge of death, it had been the same dance. They would save him, throw him into a rehab center, and pray for recovery. His wife had made it practically automatic to locate the syringe and give him a dose. Leo cannot be held responsible for his upbringing or the way his brain was wired. However, he took full responsibility for some of the active decisions he made. While his parents made an effort to keep undesirables like Dana away from him, they were unable to keep harmless people like JoJo at bay. One may understand his vulnerability at the time. He utilized what he overheard his parents talking about him, but it didn't justify bringing JoJo on the boat ride when he knew full well that he couldn't remain awake. To be honest, Billy and his spouse made a lot of mistakes. Even when they were unaware that they were making mistakes, they nevertheless did. Dana would get money from them to keep away. They may have started by considering what Leo actually needed. He was in need of his dad, even if only to briefly indulge him. Regardless of Leo's personal opinion about the song, he ought to have recognized that Leo needed it. He desired something he had created with his dad prior to his passing. Regardless of the quality of the music, it was insufficient to destroy the years-long legacy he had worked so hard to establish. They could have used someone like Dana to show Leo the repercussions of his conduct. They took precautions to shield him from her influence, but perhaps they ought to have occasionally allowed her inside to give him a glimpse of what a drugged-out life was like. When they attempted to steal something that he believed to be his, that was the last straw. Leo loved his daughter despite the fact that he wasn't always what was best for her, much like Billy loved his music. Without his father's love and his daughter, Leo has nothing much to live for. It was the same as his 19-year-old self. Better off dead than unwanted. I was devastated by his mother's choice not to resuscitate him. This was the millionth time she'd done it. I was baffled as to why she was unable to accomplish that again. Perhaps she thought that by letting him, she was being helpful to him. Maybe she did something honorable. For more, subscribe.